Gary Grinkmeyer here. I have a dream. I have a dream of what the real estate industry is going to look like in 2020. It's a change in the attitudes of brokerages and real estate agents and buyers and sellers and renters. For sake of discussion, we're going to call it Best of U.S. Homes. I don't know what it will be called in 2020. The why is basically to create a real estate brokerage that serves the needs of buyers, sellers, renters, and agents. And it does it in total transparency, and it works to make everybody achieve their goals. It'll make the process of buying, selling, or renting a home more fulfilling, more conflict-free, and more blended together so that everybody has a positive experience. It will change the atmosphere relative to agents in that rather than have a 80% potential for failing within the first 18 months of entering the business, that there will be a 80% potential for success, is to help agents create a business that they are successful in, that they can take pride in, and that when they're ready to leave the industry, they have something they can sell. Now let's take a look at the different aspects of the change. The first aspect of the change centers around the buyer. A buyer decides he wants a new home, maybe a first home, maybe an upgrade, maybe a downsize. In the current world, the first place he would go would be to a website portal, and he would look at the pictures that are presented on any number of websites. Go through the pictures, find a home that appears to be what he's looking for in a neighborhood that appears to be what he wants to be involved in, and make an appointment with an agent that he knows absolutely nothing about and agree to go see some homes. Under Best of U.S. Homes, the portal would first ask him to register and become a client. In doing so, he would agree to allow us to see his Facebook page, all of his internet activity. We'd ask that, if it's a he, that he also allows his wife to do the same thing. And if the children are of age that have a social media or an internet presence, that they do the same thing. What we're doing is gathering information so that we as a broker, as an assistant, can more expediently and efficiently help them find the home that they want. Once the account is opened, whether again it's for a buyer or a renter, they would be asked to fill out a brief questionnaire, being explicit about what they're looking for in a home to either buy or rent. They would then, after that is completed, go to the pictures that our artificial intelligence leads us to as to the homes that, based on their profile, are most suited for them. They would go through the pictures of each of the homes, and they would give a thumbs up, a thumbs down, or a really, not really, doesn't matter. Through doing this, the artificial intelligence would continue to gather their likes, their dislikes, and don't cares, and based on all the homes that fit their profile, start narrowing it down to the home that best suits them. Through artificial intelligence, we can match the home buyer to the homes that are most appropriate. Now, I will grant you, they eventually have to see it, but they don't need to see 20, 30, 40 homes over a period of 6 months, a year, 2 years. It can be done much more efficiently, and through the use of artificial intelligence, we can help them achieve that. Going back to our scenario on our buyer, the next thing the buyer would do is, based on his profile and the profiles we have of our agents, we would present them with maybe 5 agents to choose from. Agents that have similar interests and similar backgrounds, so that it's it's a good melding of buyer to agent, thus making the potential transaction much more apt to success. So we have an agent match. Now let's deal with the seller segment of the market of the 2020s. 75% of the real estate in the United States is owned by the baby boomers. The baby boomers are the babies that were born between 1946 and 1964. I happen to be 2 years prior to that. I was born in 1944. So I have some actual knowledge of what they're dealing with and what their future is going to look like. The baby boomer sell-off, this is the baby boomers reaching age 65 and wanting to downsize, needing to move into different kinds of facilities, wanting to move closer to their grandchildren, started in 2011. The last baby boomer will turn 65 in 2029. So I call this the baby boomer sell-off. 75% of the real estate in the United States is going to be liquidated between now and 2044. So how do we address this as a broker to make it most efficient for everybody involved? What I think has to happen is, again, through using artificial intelligence, the seller comes to the broker, says, I want to list my house. Through the use of artificial intelligence, we can determine what the pricing should be on the house pretty much over the internet. We then can send an agent out to inspect, and we, the broker, can say, this is what you'd need to do to your house to get it up to standards, to make it sell in our predictable days on the market and price, because the condition has to be perfect. At that point, the seller has a choice. We, the broker, can make a cash offer. We'll buy your house from you as it is, and we'll do the improvements. Now think about that. Best of U.S. Homes buys the house. They vacate the house. We come in, we do the demolition, and we prepare to update the house. Because the house is empty, we can do the demolition in a fraction of the time that it would take if we had to do all this while the homeowner is still living there. We'd have to work around them. That's going to mean months rather than days. When the demolition is done, we move our crew in, and we, with our designer, we make the improvements. Again, we will get it done in a fraction of the time that it would be done if the homeowner was doing it themselves. This brings the cost of this improvement down dramatically. We're also employing these contractors 365 days a year, whereas the homeowner would employ them once. And again, price is on our side as the broker making improvements on a house that we now own. Thus, we're going to be able to give the homeowner a bigger check than he actually expected we were going to get when he becomes knowledgeable of the cost of upgrading his home. So the broker of the future will become the owner of a big portion of the inventory of the houses that they have listed. This is a good thing for everybody involved because, again, as the owner, the efficiencies of ownership become that of the broker, which can be passed on to the seller. It becomes a marketplace where the broker is controlling both the buyer leads and the seller leads and matching agents with the buyers and sellers, and thus making it a more efficient business. It also limits the number of agents in the business. Again, I shared with you that, as you know, if you're in the business, 80% failure rate. If you are in a team with your broker and you're working together, your broker is going to make sure you're successful. He's going to work with you to help this house that he, in many cases, owns get sold. That's the broker-seller relationship that I see in the future. part of my dream. Now let's talk about the agent aspect of my dream brokerage firm. We have to match the supply of agents with the demand of agents if we expect agents to be successful. Right now, there are 2 million agents, roughly, in the United States. The 80-20 rule applies here as it does in many, many industries. That 20% of the agents are making 80% of the money, and as a result, 80% of the new agents fail within the first 18 months of being a real estate agent. The other part of the equation is that if I do work hard, and if I do go out and get a listing, and if I go out there and take the measurements of all the rooms and put together all the information and take the pictures and bring that and put it into the MLS, literally I give this to my broker, who I'm going to share my commission with. Let me say that again. I give it to my broker. I have no ownership. At that point, my broker and I want to sell the property, but I do all the advertising. I do all the promotion. Am I an expert in this? No. If I'm a new agent, I have to learn how to use Facebook. I have to learn how to use LinkedIn. I have to learn how to create a CMR and a database, and I have to put this all together. Does that make any sense whatsoever? If I'm a broker and I have people who are trying to sell my listings, why wouldn't I have a department within my brokerage that does all the Facebook advertising, all the connections on LinkedIn, runs the CMR, creates the emails that go out to the various CMRs? Why am I asking 3,000 agents in the Birmingham MLS to each and every one of them do that on their own? This, does it make any sense whatsoever? Why isn't the real estate business built on a partnership of selected agents with a strong brokerage that will help them become successful? Then, what is near and dear to me is, why doesn't this brokerage help this agent build a successful practice, business, that is then saleable when he wants to retire or leave the industry? This industry needs to change, and I have a dream. I have a dream that I can be a part of that. I can be the dreamer who ignites the will of the doers and says, Carrie, this is possible. This is needed. It is a win-win-win for everybody involved. The pieces are all there. I'm a part of a brokerage that has 120,000 agents. Zillow gets 178 million viewers every month. Does it make sense that this doesn't come together? Does it make sense that you have 2 million agents and only 20% of them make a living? I have a dream. I can't do it on my own. But I believe the will is there. I believe the need is there. Help me make my dream come true. I'll be talking to you again. You can count on it.